Welcome to the video lectures on course Radiation and Microwave Techniques. Today we are going to start with unit number 5, that is active microwave components. So before proceeding to the different microwave components, we will go through some limitations of the conventional tubes at microwave frequency, and we will also understand the concept of velocity modulation which is used in the different microwave tubes. So let's see what are the contents that we are going to cover in this lecture. Learning outcomes, introduction to the conventional tubes, high frequency limitations of conventional tubes, and the classification of microwave tubes. We will see the re-entrant cavities and the concept of velocity modulation. Coming to learning outcome. After completion of this lecture, students will be able to understand the limitations of conventional tubes at the microwave frequencies, and they will understand the classification of microwave tubes, and they will also understand the re-entrant cavities which are used in the microwave tubes, and also the concept of velocity modulation. So let's begin with the today's lecture. Example of conventional tubes. In the figure you can see over here, this is a vacuum tube triode. Vacuum tubes are electronic devices in which the electron flows through the vacuum from one electrode to the another electrode. Contains a cathode, an anode, and one or more electrodes called as grids. These grids are used for the controlling action. Vacuum tubes are voltage control devices and they can be operated at high voltage ranges. Vacuum tubes can produce high powers. Vacuum tubes are useful below microwave frequency. They have certain limitations when operated at microwave frequencies. The conventional tubes like triodes, tetrodes, pentodes at microwave frequency become less effective when used as an oscillator or an amplifier. So we will see the limitations of conventional tubes at microwave frequencies. So some of the high frequency limitations of conventional tubes are listed. The first one is the circuit reactance, which is interelectrode capacitance and the lead inductance. Second drawback is the transit time or the angle effect. Third is the gain bandwidth limitation. Fourth is the effect due to the radio frequency losses, that is the skin effect and the dielectric losses. Effect due to radiation loss is one of the another limitation. We will go through this all limitations one by one. Starting with the interelectrode capacitance. The figure is showing you the triode. This is the anode terminal, which is also called as plate. This is the cathode terminal of triode, and this is the grid terminal of the triode. Vacuum tubes consist of 3 electrodes, as I said earlier. These electrodes are the grid electrode, plate and the cathode, and they are separated by a dielectric air. So we know the capacitance exists in between the two metal plates when they are separated with a dielectric. So the capacitance between the two electrodes, as shown over here, they are referred to as the interelectrode capacitance. The capacitance is given by C is equal to epsilon A by D, and the reactance, capacitive reactance, is given by 1 upon 2 pi F into C, where F is the frequency and C is the value of capacitance. As frequency increases, the reactance of all this capacitance in between the different electrodes decreases, and they begin to short circuit the input and the output voltages. So consider if there is any input at the grid, what happens at the high frequency, as this capacitance in between the anode and the grid, it acts as a short circuit. What happens, all the input, it goes towards the anode, and there is no amplification process. So whatever is the input, that we get at the output. This leads to the reduction in the amplification, as I said. The capacitance must be minimized and this can be achieved by increasing the distance between the electrodes or by reducing the area of the electrodes. Now let's again consider the example of triode. You know, triode has three terminals, that is anode, grid and cathode. These terminals they are conducting, so there exists an inductance. The inductance of anode is given with the denotation LP, that is the plate inductance. LG denotes the grid inductance and LK denotes the cathode inductance. Inductance is given as L is equal to L upon mu into A, where L is the length of conducting wire, mu is permeability and A is the cross-sectional area, and the inductive reactance XL is given as 2 pi into FL, where we can say that the inductive reactance, it is directly proportional to the frequency F. So when the frequency increases, that is at the microwave frequency, the frequencies are very higher. So as the frequency increases, the reactance it increases, and at microwave frequency inductive reactance is very high. Due to this, there exists an impedance matching problem in between the input and the output. Lead inductance affect the performance of the tube, with most of the input gets lost across the inductance, and only the small fraction of input it reaches to the terminal for the amplification purpose. The lead inductance effect, it can be minimized by decreasing the inductance. From this equation we can say the inductance can be reduced by reducing the length of the conducting wire, or by increasing the area of cross-sectional area of the conducting wire. The lead inductance along with this inter-electrode capacitance, they produces unwanted tuned circuits which produces the parasitic oscillations, hampering the performance of devices at the high frequencies. So the second effect is the transit time or the transit angle effect. Before dealing with this, what is transit time? So transit time is the time taken by an electron to travel from the cathode to the anode terminal. You can see over here the distance in between the anode and the cathode is denoted with the small d, and the velocity at which the electron is moving is v naught. So the transit time, it is given as tau is equal to the distance divided by the velocity v naught, and the transit angle, it is given as theta g, which is equal to omega tau, which is equal to omega d by v naught. Consider this as the input voltage applied to this device, where this t is the time period of this input signal. Before proceeding to the analysis of frequency, what we will do is we will check what happens if the input voltage across the device it changes. So for the positive voltage, the electrons they get potential energy and they move towards the anode from the cathode. But as the voltage then changes from positive to negative, the electrons they are attracted towards the cathode. So the transit time is small at the low frequency. The electrons they travel and they reach instantaneously at the anode from cathode before the input voltage changes from the positive to negative. But this is not at the high frequency. So we will see what happens at the high frequency. What is the transit time effect at high frequency? However, at high frequency, the time period of the input signal is very much less than the electron transit time. The input changes 10 to 100 times in one transit time of electron. So in the positive cycle of input, electron gain the potential energy and they move towards the anode, but before they reach to the anode, the input changes from positive to negative, and during this negative cycle, the electron is taken again back, or it is attracted towards the cathode. You can see over here, the electron before it reaches to the anode, the negative cycle it proceeds, and the electron it is again attracted towards the cathode. So this green line they are indicating the electron at the high frequency. The electron it may oscillate back and forth in this cathode grid space, or they return back to the cathode, and to reduce this effect, the distance between electrode it can be reduced, and the high voltages they must be applied. but which in turn increases the interelectrode capacitance. So they are not preferable at the high frequency. Other limitations they are the gain bandwidth product. At microwave frequency, the conventional tubes they start resonating, and for the resonant circuit, the gain bandwidth product it is constant. So to achieve higher gain, we should compromise for bandwidth. This drawback it can be overcome by using the re-entrant cavities or the slow wave structures. The next limitation of conventional tube is the skin depth, which is contributing to the conduction loss. It is given as delta is equal to 1 upon under root of pi mu sigma f, where from here we can say that the skin depth it is inversely proportional to the under root of frequency. So as the frequency increases, skin depth decreases. At microwave frequency, skin depth it is very small. So at microwave frequency, most of the current it flows through the surface of conductor. That is the effective area for the current flow it decreases, as it is only flowing on the surface of the conductor. We know the resistance it is given as rho L by A. As the area decreases due to the skin depth, resistance of the conductor it increases, which causes the conductor losses at the microwave frequency. The other drawback is dielectric loss. The loss tangent of the dielectric material increases with the increase in the frequency. This occurs in various types of insulating material used in the device, that is the glass envelope. There will be more dielectric losses at microwave frequency. The last limitation of conventional tube is the radiation loss. At microwave frequency, the electrode pins of the vacuum tubes they start radiating. The radiation loss it increases with the increase in the frequency, and this can be minimized by proper shielding of the vacuum tubes and its circuitry. So these are some of the limitations of the conventional tubes if they are to be operated at the microwave frequency ranges, that is at very higher frequency ranges. Now we will see the classification of the microwave tubes. The microwave tubes they are classified into two types, that is the linear beam tubes and the cross field tubes. Linear beam tubes, the DC magnetic field is in parallel with the DC electric field, and the direction of the beam motion is aligned with the fields. This linear beam tubes sometimes they are referred to as O type of tubes, where O resembles the original types of tube, while the cross field tubes they are in that the DC magnetic field and the DC electric field they are perpendicular to each other. You can see in the figure the magnetic field and the electric field they both are perpendicular to each other, and the motion of electron beam it is perpendicular to both the field. These cross field tubes they are also called as M type tube. In cross field tubes the DC magnetic field plays a direct role in the radio frequency interaction process. Now let's see the further classification of this microwave tubes. As you know, microwave tubes they are classified as O type. O type tubes they are classified as resonant cavity. Resonant cavity we have klystron. In that we have reflex klystron and the multi-cavity klystron. Similarly, O type tubes they are classified into slow wave structures. We have forward wave structures like coupled cavity traveling wave tube and the helix traveling wave tube. In back wave slow wave structures, we have back wave amplifier and back wave oscillator. Similarly, this microwave tubes they are classified in M type. M type we have magnetron and the cross field amplifier. So this is the classification of microwave tubes. We will discuss reflex klystron, multi-cavity klystron, the helix traveling wave tube and magnetron in the further lectures of Unit 5. Before proceeding, we will see what are the re-entrant cavities, because these re-entrant cavities they are used in the microwave tubes. So a re-entrant is one in which the metallic boundaries extend the interior of the cavity. At the frequency well below the microwave range, the cavity resonator, it can be represented by a lumped constant resonant circuit. When the operating frequency is increased to the several tens of megahertz, both the inductance and the capacitance, they must be reduced to a minimum in order to maintain the resonance at the operating frequency. So this is a toroid cavity. In this magnetic field is concentrated in this toroidal portion of the circuit, and the electric field, it is concentrated in this central portion, that is this capacitive portion, and this is the inductive portion. At resonance, energy oscillate back and forth in between this toroidal portion and this parallel plate portion of the cavity, just as it does in the parallel LC circuit. The cavity shape is called as re-entrant, since this shape puts most of the electric field in the beam region. Typical re-entrant cavities, they are shown below. This first cavity is the coaxial cavity. The second one is the radial cavity. Third one is a tunable cavity, and this we have seen, which is toroidal cavity. The cavities are designed for use for a particular frequency, but the mechanical tuners are usually included to compensate for the manufacturing tolerances. The reentrant cavities are designed for using in the klystrons and the microwave triodes, as I said earlier. Here the resistance loss, they are markedly reduced, as well as the self-shielding enclosure prevents the radiation losses. Now let's move on the important concept, that is the velocity modulation. This velocity modulation, it is basically is the working principle of different microwave tubes like the two cavity klystron or the reflex klystron. So we will go through this, that is velocity modulation. So velocity modulation, it is defined as variation of velocity of electron caused by alternate speeding up and the slowing down of the electrons in the beam. These microwave tubes, they were developed when the use of the frequency spectrum, it went beyond 1000 megahertz and into the microwave frequency ranges. The microwave tube uses the transit time in the conversion of a DC power to the radio frequency power. The interchange of the power, it is accomplished by using the principle of electron velocity modulation and low loss resonant cavities in the microwave tube. So before proceeding to the microwave tube, we must have the understanding of how the electrons, they interact with the electrostatic field. An electron, as we know, it has mass and it exhibits the kinetic energy when it is in motion. So the amount of the kinetic energy is directly proportional to its velocity. That is, we can say higher the velocity, the higher will be the energy level. So the basic concept of electron energy level being directly related to its velocity is the key principle of energy travel and amplification in the microwave tubes. An electron, it can be accelerated or deaccelerated by an electrostatic field. So let's see. For that, consider that we are having a positively charged body and a negatively charged body. This is the electrostatic field lines, and there is an electron which is flowing in this direction. The direction of travel is against the electrostatic line of force, which are from positive to the negative. The negatively charged electron, it will be attracted to the positively charged body and will increase its velocity. As the velocity increases, the energy level of the electron will increase. So where does this electron, it acquires this additional energy? It is simple, it acquires this energy from the electrostatic field. And electron traveling in the direction opposite to the line of force will absorb the energy and it increases its velocity, that is, they accelerate. The opposite condition is also true. So consider there is again a positively charged body, a negatively charged body, and the electric field lines, they are from positive to negative, and the electron, it is traveling in the direction of the electric field lines. This negatively charged body will repel this electron and cause it to decrease its velocity. When the velocity is decreased, the energy level is also decreased. The energy lost by the electron, it is gained by the electrostatic field. The operation of velocity modulated tube depends on the change in the velocity of electron passing through its electrostatic field. A change in the velocity causes the tube to produce bunches of electrons, and these bunches are separated by the spaces in which there are relatively few electrons. Velocity modulation is defined as that the variation in the velocity of beam of electron caused by alternate speeding up and the slowing down of electrons in the beam. The variations are caused by voltage signal applied between the grid through which the beam must pass. Hope you have understood this lecture. We started this lecture with the limitations of the conventional tubes at microwave frequency. Then we saw the classification of microwave tubes, and we also saw the reentrant cavities, different reentrant cavity structures that we have seen, and at last we have gone through the concept of velocity modulation. You must remember this concept. This same modulation technique is applicable for the two cavity klystron and the reflex klystron. Thank you.